Welcome back, welcome back. I hope everybody's having a wonderful All-Star break, and thank you so much for returning. We got a great video today, and the video is going to be, we're going to play a little game. It's going to be called Agree or Disagree. And the topic is, we're going to talk about 6 positives in a Mets season full of despair. So we're going to go over these 6 topics, and you're going to play along as well. You tell me if you agree or if you disagree, if it's actually a positive or not. All right. At the end of the video, we're also going to go over some grades Bleacher Report gave the New York Mets on their 2023 draft. I thought that was a bit interesting. And another thing, somebody dropped a comment and they mentioned that I was a baseball card collector. What was my best card that I pulled last year? So I'm going to come through for you specifically, and I'm going to show you what I pulled last year and what was my best card that I pulled. Okay, and first, as always, if you could like and subscribe, especially if you're a diehard baseball fan, Met fan, you gotta like, you gotta subscribe. I cannot thank you enough. I really can't. Okay, so let's get into this video. And the first thing, if you agree or disagree or not, is, let's see here. Oh, and I just want to let you know, I got these topics from an article. Always give credit. It's from the Rising Apple, and it's by Terrence Jordan. So very good article. Okay, so our first topic is Pete Alonso's first 2 months. Was that a positive? And I have to say emphatically, hell yes. If you remember, Pete Alonso was set to have over 60 home runs. He was at a mammoth pace. He was leading the league in home runs. I believe he was like first or second in RBI. But he was dominating before he got hurt. He was completely dominating. Then, gets hurt, comes back, and he is hitting pathetic. But the question is, was the first 2 months a positive? And I have to 100% say I agree. Your turn. What do you think? Agree or disagree? Drop a comment. All right, so the second topic. The baby Mets have shown us a glimpse of the future. Do you agree or disagree? And I'm going to have to say, this one is a bit mixed, but specifically for Francisco Alvarez, I'm leaning toward an answer here, but let's go over all the Mets. Mark Vientos, I have to say, hasn't been up here long enough, so it's not fair for us to really judge him. At least for me, I don't see it fair. Brett Baty, I haven't seen the future yet from him. There's not enough consistency there. I've seen him make some pretty big play errors that didn't go so well. He's had a lot of situations where I needed him to come through. We needed him to come through. He didn't. So I haven't really seen it there. But Francisco Alvarez already has 17 home runs. The guy's playing. He's going to have a season like we haven't seen a season from a catcher like this since Mike Piazza. So I got to say, just on Francisco Alvarez alone, we've seen a glimpse. So I got to emphatically say, yes, I agree. We have seen a glimpse from the future for the baby Mets. Okay, so that's another I agree. Now this one is a bit tricky, but do we agree Tommy Pham and David Robertson have been the Mets' 2 most consistent free agents? All right, so who else was a free agent that we expected something from? And I have to say that the biggest that comes to mind is Justin Verlander. Now, the word in this topic is most consistent. Justin Verlander has shown some signs of breaking out and being dominant, but on a whole, he hasn't been the most consistent. I would have to say another agree. David Robinson and Tommy Pham have been the most consistent free agents, but it's not like there's been a plethora of free agents, so I don't have so much to compare him to. So just by default, I have to say that those two are the most consistent free agents. All right, going on to number 4, we're going to Brandon Nimmo and Francisco Lindor have proven that they are worth the money. So Brandon Nimmo is making $20 million a year on average for the next 8 years. So I have to say, Brandon Nimmo, yes, he is worth the money by far. He's having a very good season. He should actually, it could be argued that he should have been an all-star. Center fielder, the guy's shown more power and pop than he's ever had in his career. He's already got 13 home runs. He's still on base clip of 370. He's batting close to 280. I mean, Brandon Nimmo, I gotta say, emphatically, yes, he has. But Francisco Lindor, has he proven that he's worth the money? He's making $34 million a year. A lot more than Nimmo. A lot more. So he hasn't to me. He hasn't. He's been too inconsistent. I expect a guy that's making almost $35 million to be more consistent on a daily basis. You got to be consistent on and off the field, a leader on and off the field. You got to come through in big situations. You have to be the guy in the lineup that always can be reliable. And I don't feel that. Yes, does he have streaks? Does he have games where he's great? Yes, but that's not worth $35 million. Okay, so this one I have to put, and I disagree. Okay, number 5. Kodai Sanga has been even better than the hype. Better. So we all know Kodai Sanga just went to the All-Star game. So Kodai Sanga is having a very good year. 7-5 record. Mid-3 earner and average. Is striking out close to 12 batters a game. His walk ratio is a bit high. I believe it's around 5 or 6 batters a game. Or I could be wrong. I just know that it is a bit high. Just forget what the exact number is. But on a whole, if you remember, and I remember this, I was hearing that this guy is a sensational Japanese pitcher who can hit 100 miles per hour on the gun. He's got the nastiest forkball out there. So I heard a lot of things about him. There was a tremendous amount of hype, right? And then he was signed to this contract, 3 years, $75 million. And I was like, that's a pretty reasonable contract for a guy that has all this talent, that can throw 100 miles per hour, that has the nastiest forkball out there, that has a glorious record in Japan, and has all these skills. So there was a heck of a lot of hype. So in my opinion, I would have to disagree because he didn't surpass the hype in my eyes. In my eyes, he probably met the hype. You know, he's an all-star. He's he's getting better and better. So I would have to say that the hype was greater. So I disagree that he has surpassed the hype. Okay, so on a whole, we got 3 agrees, 2 disagrees. So let's see what the 6th topic is. Okay, so the Mets have woken up after a June nightmare. Have they woken up? They played 8 games in July. They're 6-2, but they're coming off a 2-game losing streak. They lost the last series in San Diego. But the question is, have they woken up? So I would have to say, to be honest, I have to have more information. That last series tells me that they may be in the process of waking up or maybe in the process of going back to sleep. All right? So if I have to be fair, they haven't woken up. They really haven't. I need them to go on a huge streak. I can't just expect them to go 6-2 and then losing the last series, losing 2 games in a row, and then think they've woken up. No way. No way. They need to prove it over a substantial period of time. So we're going to end it off. 3 agrees, 3 disagrees. Okay. So let's hit our next topic. And the Mets, they just drafted a couple young, promising players. They had their draft, and I looked at Bleacher Report, and I was looking at all the grades. They gave a couple of teams A+, A-, B+, B-, C's, this and that. So I'm trying to see, what did they give our Mets? What was the grade? And they graded the entire draft. I believe it was like 20-something rounds. So a lot of guys got drafted. We went over who their first-round pick is in our other video. It was a guy who was supposed to go a little higher up. But, he's a young 18-year-old. We were able to get him at number 32. So just because of that, we did great in our draft, especially the first 2 rounds. But our overall draft is what I was more interested in. But luckily, Bleacher Report gave our draft a grade of an A. And I'm like, all right, that's good. But the thing is, we got to see how these players turn out, how they develop. That's the thing. Guys like Jacob deGrom, Mike Piazza, those guys were drafted deep into the later rounds. It's how these guys develop. So I don't really care about grades. It sounds nice. It feels nice if we're assigned a better grade at the beginning of the draft, or obviously when the draft is concluded. But it is more productive, and it is a lot better if the players are productive in the years to come. So good start. I guess I have to say good job to the front office. It looks good, but we have to see what the final result is, the final grade. Okay, and I was actually looking at another MLB publication, and they were saying that the Mets' first 2 rounds came in the top 3 of all teams. So they were the 3rd best draft for the first 2 rounds. So multiple publications were impressed with the Mets draft. So that's actually nice to see. Okay, so let's get to our third part of the video. And our third part of the video is more, I would say, for people who collect, anybody who collects anything. I mean, no matter if you collect or not, it's pretty cool. So the question I got, a comment, I mentioned that I started collecting baseball cards last year. And I collected cards back in the day, baseball, basketball, whatever, you name it. I tried collecting it. And but last year I really started getting into baseball, and I bought a lot of Bowman card boxes, Bowman Chrome, and I didn't spend a crazy amount. But one time I bought a box for $50, and I would say I pulled my best card, a card that I have right here. And the gentleman that I pulled, as soon as I looked at his name, I was like, oh no, who is this guy? I don't know this guy. It's not, it's not one of our Mets. It's not a guy I was familiar with. But then when I got to read up about this guy, it seems like, he's a top prospect, and he was a very highly touted prospect. So as time passed and I did a little more research, I figured out that this card is actually a pretty decent to good. It's a good card. It's a very good card. So the gentleman's name is, and I'll show you, it is, how am I doing this? Okay, I'm sorry about the glare. Look at this. Come on. Okay, so the gentleman's name is Marcelo Mayer. He is was the number 1 prospect for the Red Sox. His ranking changed. He went from like number 4 this year to number 10. He was the first. He was the number 1 Red Sox prospect. Now he's the number 2. But bottom line, the guy's got a lot of skill, a lot of potential. Next year he could be the number 1 prospect out of anyone. So that has a lot to do with like value. If the more potential a guy has, the more value that is assigned to the card, because the more desired a player is, obviously it helps value. That means people want the card more. So he's a prospect next year. He could be the number 1 prospect in all of baseball. His name again is Marcelo Mayer. This card, why it is pretty different, is it is an autograph. As you could see, it is a refractor. That helps the value. It also is labeled. It is a numbered card, so this is 15 of 25. Like if you get a 1 of 1 card, that means they only made 1. If you get a 9 of 10, that means they only made 10. This one specifically, they've made 25 of these cards. I think I saw somebody selling theirs. It was like 300 or 400. So that's a pretty nice chunk of change. $50 box, get a couple good cards, and this one was decent value. I hold my cards. I hope that they go up. I'm not a guy who buys and flips it right away. So I just I don't know whether it makes sense or not. No, I just like to keep the cards. This guy, here's the thing. This guy could fizzle out. He's just a prospect right now. So if I wanted to cash in, it might be smart. In 2 or 3 years, if it turns out this guy's nobody, if he's a washout, the card value is going to go down. But if it turns out he's another great player, then the card value goes up. So I find that a bit exciting. So that's why I'm going to hold on to that card. If anybody's interested in cards or has any questions, just let me know. I always find that stuff very interesting. I find collecting very interesting. But back to our Mets. The Mets have about 15 games left up until the trade deadline. And another thing I was thinking about is what would the Mets have to do in order to become buyers or to not sell? And I'm not saying I want to buy. I want to sell. I'm kind of leaning 90% on sell. But just hypothetically, what would they have to do to avoid that scenario? And I feel they would have to at least go 10-5. 10-5. That's another question for you. What would you feel the Mets would have to do to avoid selling at the trade deadline? So it's another topic. And I'm just going to let you know, I'm going to still be doing videos, but in the next week and a half, the background might change. I'm going to be going away, so I apologize if it's horrible. Hopefully the background is not that bad. So we'll still watch our Mets. We got a game with series with the Dodgers coming up, and we got to at least take 2 out of 3, at least. And most likely, the biggest thing we probably have to do is start streaking, start putting long streaks together. You know what? We can't argue if it's realistic or not because the Mets have dug themselves on a hole. We got to get out of that hole. So it is what it is. We will follow everything. We're here together. We're a community. I thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a great day, great night whenever you are watching this. Just the best to you, the best to everyone out there. Like and subscribe. Can't say it enough. I appreciate everyone. Have a great day. Let's go Mets. And speak to you soon.